What's up guys, in today's video we are going to be getting the Platinum Trophy for Black Myth Wukong. He done his move, you So Black Myth Wukong was probably the most hyped game of 2024 and finally released in August. And if I'm being 100% honest, this was the game I was most looking forward to playing this year. And this game did not disappoint, and it was the best game that I played in 2024. Now, yes, I know that Astrobot won Game of the Year, and I have not played this game yet, so my opinion could certainly change once I finally get around to playing that game. So Black Myth Wukong basically combines the elements of your typical Souls games with God of War and Star Wars Jedi. I really think the developers did a great job in the sense that whilst they borrowed from other games, it certainly still had its own nice, unique feeling to it. And it's probably the first game that I've played in a little while where I just did not get bored and wanted to keep playing and playing and playing. And I would absolutely recommend everyone to play this game at some stage, even if you're not getting the Platinum Trophy for it. Now, the Platinum Trophy for Black Myth Wukong is an absolute beast. Whilst the game only consists of 36 trophies, it is rated at a 7 out of 10 for difficulty, will require a minimum of 2 playthroughs, and will take approximately 60 hours to complete. Now, in my opinion, these 60 hours are rather generous, as there are some RNG elements to the game which could significantly blow your time out. I think that I spent around 80 or so hours in order to get the Platinum Trophy. I believe that the 60 hours is whilst following a guide, and I would honestly recommend playing this game blindly on your first playthrough so you can get the full genuine experience. So why is Black Myth Wukong such a difficult platinum hunt? Well, besides the game being like your typical Souls game, there are certainly some tricky bosses that are difficult to navigate in the game. It is an absolute missable trophy nightmare. There are a total of 7 missable trophies, and the majority of these are tied to collectibles, and if you happen to miss any of them, it's highly likely that you'd have to start the game all over again. So if you can find a guide that doesn't spoil the game and gives you all the location of the collectibles, I'd absolutely recommend following this through on your first playthrough. There are also other missable trophies tied to certain bosses, and this can also get a little bit tricky. Some bosses disappear after you have beaten other bosses, so you need to keep track of every single one that you have beaten throughout the game, and for those who have never played this game before, you pretty much just fight a boss every 5 minutes. So with that out of the way, let's get into our Platinum Trophy journey. So the story of Black Myth Wukong is based on the story of Journey to the West. Initially we play as Sun Wukong, who has grown distrustful of the court, and here we fight Erlin Sheng. This is a pretty cool fight to start the game, however unfortunately we die and Sun Wukong is severed from his 6 senses. These 6 senses are then spread throughout the world as 6 relics, and it is then our job to recover them so then we can return Sun Wukong to his full form.
And upon the return of the relics to Mount Tuaguo, he may yet rise again.
So with the intro of the game now completed, we then pop our first trophy.
Home is behind. The old monkey has told his tale. Onward you must go. Chapter 1, Black Cloud, Red Fire.
And so our journey begins where we spawn in on Black Wind Mountain and begin our progression towards getting the 6 relics. So just like God of War, Black Myth Wukong follows a very linear game style where you can explore and go your own way at certain times. So our first 5 to 10 minutes are spent exploring the area around us, understanding the mechanics of the game, before we are thrown straight into a boss fight.
With your new spell.
After defeating our first boss, we are then given access to upgrade our skills, and here we pop trophy number 2.
You get health, a spark of thought. Nothing sparks your talents more than a spark of thought.
And so this is pretty much the theme for all of the 6 levels in Black Myth Wukong. We spend around 5 to 10 minutes exploring, and then we will come across a minor boss before fighting one of the major bosses of the level. We then meet our first major boss of the game, and here after defeating him we earn our first transformation.
What say you?
Now these transformations are extremely important as they work well against specific bosses, and once you figure out how to use them, they are super OP.
Red Tide spells. As a feral flurry intensifies with each fierce thrust. The flames do rise, transform into a wolf guai, and inflict Scorchbane on the enemy with each attack. Cool.
We then continue progressing through Black Wind Mountain, and here we meet our next boss where we get to finally use our transformation.
E. Defeated. Okay, he was pretty easy.
We then got our first collectible of the game, which is the Celestial Jade Lotus Pills. Now there are 15 of these to collect throughout the game in order to get the collectible trophy Medicine Meal. These pills are responsible for increasing our maximum health, mana, and stamina. I then stumbled across a horse NPC, and again, this is a missable trophy. This horse NPC is located in each of the first 5 levels. However, if you do not talk to him in one level and progress to the next one, you will no longer be able to get the trophy. You need to complete all dialogue with him and talk to him in every single level before advancing, and then you will get the Urge Unfulfilled trophy. He's pretty easy to find in each level, and as long as you just keep a guide up to remind you to speak to him, you shouldn't really miss this trophy. I then met an old man, and just like the horse NPC, he is someone else that you need to speak to throughout the game of Black Myth Wukong. He appears in random locations, and again, as long as you're following along with a guide, you really shouldn't miss this trophy and should be able to find him quite easily. And then finally, we met another monkey, and this monkey helps us to upgrade our gourds, which again is tied to a few trophies. This monkey is not missable, and you can return to him whenever you want throughout the game in order to keep upgrading your gourds. I then defeated the white-clad noble, and after defeating him, I could ring the third and final bell. Throughout the first level here on Black Wind Mountain, there were certain bosses that allowed you to ring a bell after you defeated them. After ringing the third bell, we were then given access to the secret area, and each level in Black Myth Wukong generally has a secret area except for the very last one. Now I mucked up my recording here, but after defeating this boss I then popped my third trophy, Temple of Taint. And so with the secret level now finished, I then returned to Black Wind Mountain, defeating the final boss of the level and popping our 4th trophy of the game.
Yes, come on, come on, come on, come on. Yes! Let's go. Blazing Black Wind. Of all things to learn, you choose to play with fire. Let's go.
So with the first level done, I was feeling pretty good about myself as I didn't really have any difficulties with any of the bosses so far. However, that definitely changed when we hit Chapter 2. At the start of Chapter 2, I then finally applied a soak to my gourd, popping trophy number 5.
Brew of Bravery. Fresh brew in an old cask. May it stir a great task.
Now our next boss was the Tiger Vanguard, and this is probably going to be the first boss where you're going to hit a roadblock. This guy honestly just moves so fast and just has an absolute flurry of attacks that it just gets so frustrating to defend against. You literally do not get a second to breathe. But after a few goes, we finally got him done, and I was pretty pumped.
Yes.
Now in regards to trophies, there really wasn't much that happened in Chapter 2. There were a few side quests to do, and we spoke to the horse and old man NPCs, and there were a few other little side quests to get done. However, these will take way too long to explain in a video. But after completing the rest of the level, we came across the final boss, the Yellow Wind Sage.
What is this thing?
Every mountain an abyss lies. Where disparities persist, bloodbaths may arise.
Now, I've played a lot of video games in my time, and I really thoroughly enjoy the Souls-like games. However, I would have to say that this boss fight at this stage of the game was absolutely traumatic. I'm not sure what it was with the Yellow Wind Sage, but I could just absolutely not get through his second phase, and he would just absolutely destroy me. I'm not sure if the game was just bugged early on, but I kept having an issue where he would get caught outside of his storm, and I could just never hit him. And honestly, it got so frustrating, I nearly snapped the controller.
I should be out of this. Why am I stuck? Dude, what the fuck is this tornado? I'm gonna lose it. Oh, you can't even stand next to him. Dude, he does not kick me. I dodge away.
I ended up giving up on stream and decided that I'd had enough and did not want to play this game anymore. It then took me another day and several attempts in order to get past the yellow wind sage. However, we finally conquered him.
Yes! That guy. Finally. A great gust. There will be more sages if their maker still engages. Oh.
And so we then continued our journey onwards into chapter 3 where we met our little Buddha friend. And basically throughout this chapter we had to follow our little Buddha friend and progress as we had previously done throughout the level. So our Buddha friend gives us a whole series of challenges to complete to see if we can be among his disciples. And the first challenge we are given is to fight this ice dragon.
Snake.
And after a couple of goes, we finally defeated the ice dragon. However, we were then banished to a prison.
Yes. Dude, that was patience needed. Second go GRM, patience. That was some patience, man. We needed patience for that.
No easy way out.
Maybe 5 or 10 attempts. Jeez, okay. Guys, I will buy Need for Speed Unbound. Dude, nice, Jasim. I have finished that game. I just need to go back and actually get the platinum, lol.
Now, this prison area honestly had some of the most annoying enemies that you'll fight in this game. However, the most annoying part was traversing across these ledges. The amount of times I fell off of these ledges purely for no fault of my own was just ridiculous.
You're kidding me. Right, this game is literally just like mucking around with us right now at this stage. Like this game's deliberately trying to kill us.
But after an hour or two, we made our way to the top of the prison and then had to fight the gatekeeper.
A whole nother level. Alright, boss fight. Elden Ring's probably going to be the best one to start with. I think that's probably the most accessible Souls-like game. Alright, let's get this boss done. Captain Wise voice. Boys, come on. Yes. Finally, dude, we spent a good 2 hours on that.
And so with the captain then defeated, we then returned back to level 3 and continued exploring through the snowfields. We then found our monkey friend who banished us to the prison, and here we defeated him and learned a new move known as the Ring of Fire. Now the Ring of Fire is given to us by the old man NPC we met earlier in the first 2 levels, and this also counts towards your quest. This is the only section of dialogue that is not missable in the game when it comes to the NPC characters. And so then we arrived at Turtle Island, and it just so happened to be called that as it was a giant turtle. Now we then had another major boss fight here, and then after defeating this boss, this turtle transported us across the lake to the next section of the chapter. We then met an old friend of Wukong's called Zhu Bajie. Now Zhu Bajie has been instructed to follow us and help us along the rest of our journey.
What took you so long? Constipation? I was nearly cooked alive in there.
We then arrived at the Thunderclap Temple, and here we had to fight Yellowbrow. And it turned out that the little Buddha man we met earlier in the level was actually tricking us the entire time, and he was Yellowbrow himself.
Already halfway through. I can't believe you've punched through it that quickly.
The Buddha of the future.
So after getting through the first stage of the Yellowbrow fight, he then deceives us again and puts us into his sack. Here, this sack has gathered a whole heap of souls, and we have to fight the monkey chief we met again earlier in the level. Now this was definitely one of the trickier boss fights I have ever experienced, as this monkey chief went absolutely ballistic the entire fight.
Nurturing such evilness? Yellowbrow must have woven Wukong's strength into it. That bastard! Join me! Let's fight our way out.
Bro, I got no idea what's happening here right now.
So as you can see, this fight got pretty ridiculously chaotic. However, we did eventually get the job done, and then we were on to our second stage with Yellowbrow.
Fight, man. There was so much shit going on then. I had no idea what was happening. At least we're going to get out of this sack, hey?
Now, Yellowbrow's second stage was ridiculously hard, as he had the ability to harden himself in gold, which meant that you could not do any damage to him. He also had these crazy lightning bolt attacks that did significant AoE damage, and no matter what I tried, I could never get away from it, and he would always basically kill me before I could even get him halfway down in health. But after around 2 to 3 hours of trying to beat Yellowbrow, I finally managed to pull through, beating him and completing Chapter 3 and earning our 7th trophy.
Dude, I was one hit then. Oh my god. Nifty nonsense. That fat monk failed for he spoke too much. Whew. Oh my god, we have been stuck on that for 43 minutes.
Now in Chapter 4, we met a group of sisters and a mother who were all able to turn into spiders.
Leaving so soon? Why the shyness?
I've heard it.
So after defeating the second sister, she sends a poisonous dart at Bargier, and here he becomes possessed and crazy. We then have to follow him down into the depths of the caverns below in order to save him and figure out where he is gone.
Yeah. Okay, I got it right.
Now I'm sure you're all probably wondering why on earth I haven't mentioned anything about any of the side quests or any other little things that are meant to have happened in the previous 3 levels. And that's because my first playthrough was done completely blind, and I actually had no idea about any of the side quests that needed to be completed, and anything that I found was just basically off my own back. So for the rest of Chapter 4, I didn't really find anything exciting, and I just progressed through the level as per normal and saved Bargier from his hypnotic spell, and then completed the chapter. Now, I really wish that the level did end up going like this. However, the last boss fight is honestly absolutely ridiculous. However, thanks to my Twitch and TikTok chat, they were able to help me get through the last boss fight by finding this secret level and ability in Chapter 4. Now, this ability is absolutely needed to get through the last boss fight in Chapter 4, as the last phase of the boss is honestly ridiculous, and you can completely get rid of it with this specific ability that you get from the hidden level in Chapter 4. Now, I did need to do a little bit of backtracking through Chapter 4 in order to get to the secret area, as there are a few bosses that you need to defeat in order to be able to get there. Now, this did set me back a little bit, but honestly, fighting these bosses was a great little change up in pace, as I was starting to get frustrated with the final boss. But we finally arrived at the secret area, and we then had to confront the Dust Veil in order to get the Weaver's Needle. Now, the Dust Veil is easily in the top 5 hardest fights in this game, and honestly, I didn't think I was going to get through this. I actually got that desperate that I decided to go back and fight the final boss even without the Weaver's Needle, because I honestly thought I had more of a chance of beating him than the Dust Veil. Now, if I can give you any tip, it would be that you have to get through the Dust Veil's first stage without losing any health at all. The second stage of this fight gets pretty gnarly, and that's just because the Dust Veil does some significant damage but also moves faster, and the move set is completely different. If you are struggling with it, I honestly wouldn't worry. Just keep studying and keep persisting and you'll eventually get there, as I found after around 2 to 3 hours of playing.
The cockerel crowed. Long and short, far and near, each span has its year. Ho ho.
So with the Dust Veil defeated, we then earned the Weaver's Needle, which would make the fight against the legendary Taoist significantly easier. So basically, the Weaver's Needle is needed for the second stage of the boss fight with the Taoist Master. You can then prevent him from accessing his AoE damage attacks, which do significant damage and basically kill you in one hit. This makes the boss fight significantly easier, and honestly, I have no idea how people got through this without the Weaver's Needle.
Behold the betrayal. More eyes do not see more than the mortal trifles.
And with that, we then began our journey in Chapter 5, A Barren Ashen Land. After exploring a little bit around Fire Mountain, we then met the Pale Axe Steward, and here he asked us for help to defeat 5 cards.
What happened to me?
What the hell?
Vanguard of the Bull King is relieved you're unharmed. Coffin carts blocked all the passes up, burning everything in their path. You seem clever. How about you find a way to destroy them, eh?
We quickly defeated the first 2 carts before we then met a fox girl who also needed help to stop her brother.
It's you, kind monkey. Help me, please. Things went south in the mountain and I barely escaped.
We then made pretty short work of the next major boss and then followed the little fox girl down into the volcanic crater. We then met the mother of the little fox girl and then the keeper of the flaming mountains, and then this was probably the most unique boss fight that you'll ever have in the entire game.
Alright, let's just get a whole heap of damage on him.
After defeating the Flaming Mountain Keeper, he then disappeared and returned us back to the Fire Mountain. We then had to keep chasing him and progressed further through the level to eventually fight him again. We then arrived at the Ashen Pass, and here we had to fight a whole heap of enemies while also not getting hit by an absolutely huge ball that killed you in one hit. Now this is actually a lot harder than it looks, and if you go around on YouTube you'll actually see that there are a whole heap of other people who seriously struggled with this, and I was no exception.
No way. Alright, I need to save my cloud step for there.
But after a few attempts, we then made it through and caught back up with the little fox girl. And so we then reached the peak of the mountain. However, it turns out we had been completely deceived. The little fox girl was actually her brother the entire time, and here we had our last major boss fight of Chapter 5.
It's what, it's a bloke? Oh no.
Now at this stage of the game I had been playing pretty casually and hadn't really been upgrading anything or investigating really anything that could be done, and so after getting basically smashed by Red Boy a few times, I then finally popped my next trophy for making my first medicine.
Creative concoction. Tonics are well and good, but not to be wolfed like food. Hey!
After a few attempts, I then got through the first stage. However, I was in for a rude shock when he transformed into his second stage.
Oh my god. Uh-oh. What's this bit gonna be like? That's the question. I'm actually that nervous. Okay. Dude, what the hell? Our baddie, Josh. Oh my god. Look at her. What do you think now, Josh?
Now, the Yaksha King fight is honestly ridiculously hard, and you do not get a second to breathe, and you honestly have to be completely in tune here. He has so many attacks that basically get rid of all of your health, and then as soon as he gets a hit or two on you, he basically follows up with another 3 or 4, and you are basically done. Now, I was starting to get a little bit frustrated, and so I basically decided to go back, clean up the remaining carts that I hadn't killed, and then found the secret area of Chapter 5. Here I then defeated the boss and popped my next trophy before returning to fight the Yaksha King.
Fucking come on. Frost and Flame. The merging of ice and fire, swift and severe. Let's go.
Now, I was kind of hopeful that by defeating the secret boss here in Chapter 5, it would give me something that would help me to defeat the Yaksha King. After defeating the secret boss, we were able to craft the Bull King's armor. However, to be completely honest, this did absolutely nothing to help me against the Yaksha King, and I was going to have to beat it purely based on skill.
Come on! Come on! Die, mother... Oh, finally! That was an hour of trying to kill this guy. Flaming Fury. The Golden Child brought fire and smoke. When they cleared, the family broke. Oh, about time, fatty.
So Chapter 6 in Black Myth Wukong is extremely short, as you have basically arrived at your final destination, and here we just have to beat a couple of bosses before we can progress through to fighting the final boss and beating the game. Our first boss fight is here against the Supreme Inspector, and after defeating him we then gain access to Wukong's Nimbus Cloud. This Nimbus Cloud allows us to traverse around the map in an extremely fast way and get from boss to boss without having to waste any time.
Oh, yes, sick.
These last remaining 4 bosses each gave us a part of Wukong's armor, which we needed to then fight the final boss.
Thank you. Oh, dude, that fight was so annoying, man. We snapped his... You. Thank God, man. This guy was a piece of shit. Yes!
After gaining all 4 pieces of armor, I was then
Let's
able
go.
to now grab Wukong's staff and then confront the final boss.
Rip it out of the ground. Guardian of Gear. You are fully fitted. Now swing that staff and fight. Hey.
And then we travelled by boat, and here we faced our second last boss, the Stone Monkey.
It allows only his relic bearer to face the
Now, the first stage of the stone monkey fight was relatively easy and you probably shouldn't lose too much health. However, the second phase was super difficult where he then spawned into 2 separate enemies. After around an hour or so of grinding, I then finally got through the second stage, and here is where the game took a little bit of a twist. I honestly thought that this was the end of the game. However, the stone monkey then turned into Wukong himself and took our weapons and shield, and here we then had to fight the true final boss. Now, there is an alternate ending to Black Myth which we will get to later, but I honestly thought that this was a fitting final boss fight as it was extremely difficult. However, after an hour or so, we also got this done and finally completed the game.
Come on! Oh, thank God.
Now, like I said at the start of the video, I went through and did my first playthrough completely blind. And so I had pretty much missed every single possible missable trophy in the game. So essentially, I had to go back through and do a second playthrough, but play it all the way from the start and collect everything all over again, which was pretty much going to double my time. And so with a guide up on the screen next to me, I then sat down and began my journey again through the West.
Oh, 6 sensors secured. After all that strife and struggle, what's truly been gained?
So my first objective was just to return to Black Wind Mountain and here begin fighting all of the bosses, meeting all of the NPCs and getting all of the collectibles that I needed in order to pop those missable trophies. Now, as you can play New Game Plus, I was pretty overpowered, so I managed to race through Chapter 1 in the space of about 45 minutes and got everything that I needed to get done, and I was feeling pretty good about myself. Chapter 2 was pretty much the same as Chapter 1. We raced through it fairly quickly, however we found the secret area, defeated the final boss here, and then acquired the final transformation of the game.
Oh, the Yellow Wind Sage sucks, bro. He's the worst boss in the game, man. The Yellow Wind Sage at the end of this chapter absolutely sucked. Shifting Sands. The beetle came with drum beats call and left with waves gentle fall. Compared to all the other ones. Wind Tamer. Yeah, you can. Cool. What does it give me, like, open? Is it, like, important that I go and get it? Treasure Trove. All the 4 vessels now belong to me.
While progressing through Chapter 3, I then upgraded my first piece of armor, popping my next trophy.
Pound and perfect. Through fire, armor is refined. Through trials, strength is defined.
I then arrived at the Zodiac Village and harvested my first seed, popping my 19th trophy.
Happy harvest. Fields kept trim, leave time to skim.
We then met another optional boss and acquired our final spell.
Good. Alright, that's phase 1 done. But he wasn't difficult, annoying, but tricky. And I realized, dude, he's just like annoying. Oh, Master of Magic. All spells we know are derived from the same source.
I then completed Chapter 3 and progressed on to Chapter 4, and here is when the trophies began to really flow. The first one we popped was for finding all of the formula pages.
Hey, page preserver. All the tattered pages can now be compiled in full.
I then beat arguably the hardest boss in the game here in Chapter 4, popping trophy 22.
Let's Cloud step out of there. Right, how did he know I was there? Yes, the sire and sons. For what deed must the 4 waters they govern roam free?
We then met the old man NPC for the final time in Chapter 5, getting our level 9 gourd and popping the trophy for this missable quest.
Always accompanied. How odd to encounter this old man at every corner.
We then completed the horse NPC questline, popping our next trophy.
My journey of life.
Urge unfulfilled. When with my life I'll repay the title he gave me.
I then found my final meditation point.
Scenic Seeker. the most marvelous places of meditation have all met your gaze.
In each chapter, there is a frog enemy that you need to kill, and we defeated him here in chapter 6, popping our next trophy.
Can I just hit him once? Like, seriously. The clamour of frogs. 6 frogs, 6 skills, how intriguing.
Now, the true ending in Black Myth Wukong allows you to fight Erlang, and after we had completed collecting pretty much everything in the game, we were now ready to fight him and complete the true ending. Now, Erlang is easily the hardest boss fight in the entire game in Black Myth Wukong. I was about 2 playthroughs through, so my character was extremely highly leveled and was very overpowered, and I still struggled to beat him.
So flat with that.
However, after around an hour and a half of trying, I finally beat Erlang, and then here we get a cool cutscene where we then get to fight in the sky as one of the gods, and after defeating them, we then pop 2 trophies.
Monkey. Meet the match. Let go of him and let go of all.
And break free.
Portraits perfected. Humans be Xiaoguais and the Bodhisattvas all recorded and noted. Okay. Fickle forms. Transformation and spirit skills, you have mastered them all.
And so from here, our last 6 remaining trophies were for mopping up any kind of collectibles, medicines, and armor that we hadn't gotten yet.
Medicine meal. Here. Have it all. Yes! A curious collection. Every rare wonder of the world can offer, collected and kept. Yes! Mantled with might. Shoes on feet, hat on head, embroidered shirt, Taoist robe, free as can be, doing as you please. Please give me... Yes! Seeds to sow. Take more as fruit as your plants take root. Come on. Yes! Brewer's bounty. What to drink, how to drink, and above all, who to drink with. Staff and spears. A walking vault of arms you have become. Final fulfillment. Each ordeal paves your path to what you are meant to be. There we go.
So Black Myth Wukong was platinum number 77 for me, and honestly will go down in my top 10 favourite platinums of all time so far. I honestly didn't want to put this game down and wanted to just keep playing and playing and playing, and I think I spent around 78 hours, and even though it took me longer than it really should have, I thoroughly enjoyed all 78 hours and could not recommend it more highly to anyone. Like always guys, if you can please leave a like and comment down below. This is the longest video I've ever made. That would be greatly appreciated, and I will see you guys all in the next one.